Hey everybody, I'm Sarah, Lonesome Glory, and today I am going to go through the Breyer Firsts Tag. So most of you know that a lot of these tags that were running around Breyer YouTube, I kind of came late to the game on, but I found a bunch of them. I have no idea who originally started them, so my apologies if I am not giving credit where it's due. If you do know who first originated the Breyer First tags, please give them credit. I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes here, but it sounded like fun, and I thought that that might be something cool to do. It's cold here, it's snowy, and I just felt like chatting with you guys about plastic ponies for a while. There are 10 questions that I found on this Breyer First list, and I'm only rearranging them a little bit, I think. So I'll start with question number 1. So what was your first model? I'll also point out that question number 10 on the couple of videos that I saw was what was the first model that started it all? So I'm making that question number 2 and kind of combining it with question 1. Not because I don't think that they can be separate questions, but in my case, they're kind of the same. So questions 1 and 2 are what were your first model, for me anyway, are going to be what were your first model and what was the first model that started, well, all this craziness behind me. And I can't tell you specifically what my first model was. I know that sounds kind of weird considering that I have this crazy collection and that's what I do is kind of talk to you about it. But I had a herd of horses that used to be my mom's. And sorry guys, Tinker has decided to say hello. Anyway, she's gonna be wandering around. You'll probably see tail in the video. Anyway, I can tell you specifically which model was my very first one. Mainly because my first model was a small collection of horses that my mom had when she was a girl. So I got a few horses that were Breyers, a few horses that were Heartlands, a few horses that were something else, and that's what started my collection. We had plastic horses and model horses kind of everywhere. My mom liked to collect and still likes to collect glass horses, so those were all over the house. And she gave me the plastic horses once I got old enough for them. I do remember and still have from that herd the buckskin semi-rearing Mustang and the black show stance Morgan with the star in his head. And I remember having yellow mount too, and I still do have a yellow mount. And those were all mom's. We still have them. When I moved a bunch of my horses from her house into my new house, she decided that she wanted to keep her original horses that had belonged to her at her house, and obviously I thought that was pretty cool. So those are over at Mom's, so I can't show them to you today, but those were my very first horses. So, question 2. Question number 2 is what was your first special run Breyer horse? And while I might have had some of the commemorative edition horses and other like somewhat limited horses that Breyer put out, the first actual special runs, like we would designate special runs today, that I remember having were the BreyerFest special runs from the first year I went to BreyerFest in 2001. So that would have been Atlantis Bay V. He would have been the dinner model. It was definitely called a dinner model back when we first went. I got Valentino, the Blood Bay glossy rearing silver, very pretty. There was the Classics Racehorse set and 2 flocked stablemate sets. And I got all of those. My dad bought Jester the dog and Mesquite the bull, and we got, virtually all of the special runs from that year. So those were the first actual special runs that I remember purchasing. Like I said, I had commemorative editions that were limited to maybe 10,000 or so. I remember having Breyer Frost and some of the others like that. But those were the first real classified special runs that I owned. Question 3 is, what was your first Grail? So back when I was a kid, I remember desperately wanting the Princess of Arabia horse, which is on the Black Stallion mold and had all of the Arabian costume and had the rider, and it was absolutely gorgeous set. When I was a kid, there was a store here in town on Main Street that had a great big picture window, and they put all of their Breyers in that big picture window, and they took sample models of them out of the box for you to see. And one of the ones they had was this Princess of Arabia, and I fell in love with it. And I remember just desperately wanting that set, but I'm not sure that super counts as a Grail, because that was back when I was a kid wanting the horse, as opposed to a collector wanting a model for their collection as a Grail. I don't think that desire to own that horse and to own that set really has the same meaning as the way collectors use the word Grail. So if I had to say the first Grail horse that I had, the first time that I, as a collector, wanted a horse for my collection, I think that would be Mosaic, the very first connoisseur horse, detailed, intricate, mapped pinto on the Lonesome Glory mold. He was a stunning horse. He is a stunning horse. I do have one now. I got really lucky. But that was the first time that I just absolutely wanted a horse as a Grail and set out looking for it. Question 4. What was the first model you paid more than $100 for? I gotta think on this one. When I started collecting, models were starting to go up in price. Not nearly as steep as some of the prices we see today, but that rise was there. I used to save my money when I was a kid. I'd squirrel it away from doing odd jobs around the house or working at different little jobs for family, or money I earned showing at the fair here. And I put all of that away for an entire year just to go to BreyerFest. And it was not uncommon that I would spend more than $100 on models, or on a model at a time. I never saw that as a huge barrier, I guess. If it was a horse I really, really wanted and I thought was worth it, based on how limited it was or something like that. Thinking back, probably the first horse that I remember spending that amount of money, or at least what I considered at the time a large amount of money on, was Quarter Flash, the connoisseur horse on the Zippo Pine Bar mold. He's a dun of some variety, and I'm not even going to attempt to name it, but an Appaloosa, a really pretty lacy blanket Appaloosa. He had just come out in 2001. I'm pretty sure that I picked him up that year or the year after at BreyerFest. I didn't pay a lot of money for him given what he sells for now, but I know it was well over that $100 threshold. and I was really excited to get him. So I'm going to say that it was quarter flash. Question number 4 is, what was the first model you bought on a sales page? And wow, that's kind of a look back, because when I was young and collecting as a kid, sales pages weren't a huge thing yet. We had eBay, which was still in its infancy too. And to the people who are watching this who are probably younger than I am, yeah, I know I'm old. It just is what it is. Yeah. Um, back when I first started collecting, you would get your Just About Horses magazine, which came out, bi-monthly, every other month. And it had lists of people you could write to in the back of it. And if you sent them a self-addressed stamped envelope, if you guys remember what those are, you got lists of horses that they had for sale back in the mail. And I sent off for some of those. I don't know that I bought anything particularly. I don't recall sending away and buying horses. I do recall sending out for some lists and sending out for some photo show information. And those are coming back. Thanks, quarantine. But I do remember sending out for those. But I've gone way off topic. This is not a Make Sarah Feel Old video. This is a Breyer First video. And I did start buying on the internet. I don't do it super duper often. And of course, when I was a kid, everything went through my parents. My dad loved eBay, thought it was kind of the miracle for the modern picker, and Dad liked auctions and flea markets and that kind of thing. So he and I would browse eBay while we were at home if we couldn't be outside or out doing things. And I wanted the gold Secretariat model that was produced way back for Sears or something like that. And we found one fairly inexpensive and bought it. I'm pretty sure we paid more for shipping than we did for the horse, but we bought that horse, or I should say Dad bought it for me on eBay, because of course I was too young to have my own account, so Dad bought it. And I'm sure I paid for it with chores, because that's usually how that happened. But that's how it worked with sales pages. Okay, so the next question is, what was your first show? The first show that you went to? And the very first show I went to wasn't really a traditional show, like what we think of them now. A dealer had a show in her flea market, and I had no idea what to expect. I brought some horses and showed up, and it was kind of a disaster. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know what they were looking for, and I honestly didn't know what a show was. And also, this was not set up like you would set up a show. It was like in flea market booths. It was kind of bad. It did not go well. And I was also like 12 or something like that. So it was not good all the way around. But a few years later, I found out that there were real model horse shows, put on by collectors, not by dealers trying to sell horses. And, I went to a show in Oklahoma that's actually still being held today. It's a very long running show. It's called Indian Nations Live. And I had the best time. I made some friends that I still have today. I've been going to that show ever since. I've gone to shows in kind of all around this area where I live. Indian Nations was also the first show that I judged. I know that's not one of the questions, but might as well add that on. I was 16. I'm not 100% sure that the show holder knew that when she asked me to judge. But it was still great. I had a good time. Judging that show led to me judging some shows in Missouri. which gave me the opportunity then to judge the North American Nationals one year when they were in Kentucky, which was an amazing experience. And I guess sometime I'll talk about that if people are interested. I don't know if that's something anyone would even want to hear about, but I love to go to live shows. I think that they are amazing, and it's something that I have missed so much in this last year. But anyway, next question is, I guess I'm on question 8. It was, what was your first conga? And when I was a kid, we didn't really know what a conga was. That wasn't a fashionable term, I guess. Or at least it wasn't something that really started being used, or at least that I knew about being used. Maybe might be a better way to phrase that. There were a lot of models that I really liked, and I had a lot of, especially stablemates. I had a ton of the G2 Thoroughbred, that running mare. I loved that. There were some others that I had enough models of to constitute a conga, but I didn't consider them a conga. I wasn't trying to get all of them on that mold specifically. The first time that I really said I want every horse in every color on this mold was when I first bought Lonesome Glory. That was the first time I said I need every color they ever release on this horse. And I've pretty well completed that. I did get Sassy last year when she came out, so I'm caught up. There's, I guess, one glossy prize that there's only like 20 or 30 of or something in the world that I don't have, but I legitimately have every other one, including that listening tour model that there's only 7 of. That's another story for another day. But yeah, Lonesome Glory is the first conga I declared I was going to have, and the first one that I have completed. Okay, so question number 9 is, what is your first regret? And in this case, your first model horse regret. I don't have a ton of them, I guess. I've been pretty lucky. I haven't been forced to sell things that I didn't want to sell or wasn't okay with selling. I did sell off some models that I had won, some prize models, to pay for law school, which was a thing. But luckily they weren't horses that I just desperately wanted to keep. So that's been good. I had to do some thinking about this, and I think that my regret, such as it is that back when I was probably 12 or 13, I went to a flea market with my parents, because we did that a lot. Mom and I still do when it's not, death season out in the world. And we were somewhere, I think in Oklahoma, maybe in Kansas. I'm not really sure because my memory's a little fuzzy. And in a case up by the register, there was a Breyer. And, that might not have been a big deal, except it was a running foal and it was blue. And now the entire world of Breyer is freaking out because everyone knows what that is. And I did too. I knew that that was rare, and I knew it was expensive. And unfortunately, the seller kind of did too. But they wanted for it much less than what those little suckers are selling for now. And I wanted to buy it, but of course I was 13. I did not have that kind of money. This was one of the few times that Mom and Dad thought I was crazy for wanting to spend a lot of money on a plastic horse, and they said no. I can't really blame them for that. I want to say they wanted a couple $100s for it. And of course, everybody now is going, oh my God, you can sell it for so much more now. Yeah, I know. This is why I regret it. But back then, I know why my folks said no. It's not like I had any say in it because, kid, no money. But at the same time, it's just one of those things where you look back and kind of curse, curse the skies. Why didn't I buy that? But it is what it is. So, I missed out on that one. I have been lucky enough to purchase a couple of decorators in the wilds since then. That's been a really lucky thing for me, and it's been lucky. It's always fun, and one of these times I'll tell the stories of finding decorators in the wild. But again, this is about firsts, not other stories that the first things make me think of. So, all right. So the very last question is, what was the first brand of horses that you collect? And I think that I've kind of answered this throughout. I've never really collected anything other than Breyer. I do have a shelf that I've shown you guys in the past of some stones and some copper fox. And I have a few Hagen Renekers. I have a few models from other brands. But Breyer is kind of where it all started for me, and I've stayed pretty loyal to that company, as you can kind of see back behind me. So it's Breyer kind of all the way for me. So that's where I am. Anyway, that has been my Breyer Firsts. I hope you've enjoyed kind of taking this little trip with me and learning that, I'm old. Essentially, I think that's the main takeaway from today. But I've enjoyed chatting with you about it and dealing with, Kat help, because she's been exceptionally helpful throughout this whole thing. Yes, she has. Yeah. That's you being helpful. You're so helpful. Anyway, if you have ideas for videos that you want me to know about, you should put them down in the comments. And let me know in the comments, please, what your first Breyer model was. Hopefully you have a better answer than I did, but I would like to hear it. So let me know. Otherwise, guys, until next time, stay home, stay safe, wear a mask, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye. Tinker says hi. She's been over here wanting to be petted this whole time because she thinks that all of my attention should be on the cat forever and ever and ever. I should never pay attention to the camera, just the cat. Yeah, she's not leaving. She's walking in circles around me, wondering why I am not giving her my full attention. Okay. Anyway.